Before I do my little rant, I have to say that what happened to Charlie Kirk was bad. Very bad. He should have never been, pew-pewed. He should have never been that way. But at the same time, I personally don't give two damns. And it's because his principles basically kind of led him to get in the situation. Do I think he should have been that way? Had this happened to him? No. But I don't feel sympathy. I just don't. Same thing with George Floyd. I don't have sympathy. But the principle of it, like police brutality and, political violence, there's no need for it. And, both sides try to use it as a martyr. It's not the person that you're worried about, it's the idea. Saying that it could be you, being, having a cop use excessive force on you or having to be physically harmed just because you express a opinion or talk to people. But the thing is, like George Floyd, Charlie Kirk was not an angel. He was not good. He had connections to Mossad. He knew groups that were clearly trafficking children and children's organs and all that. He knew all this. He openly mocked people who supported Palestine. He was very pro-Zionist, and people say at the end he was trying to be anti-Zionist. No, that's called pandering. He was trying to pander because he realized it's not a good look to be so pro-Israel. That's why. In reality, if you look in his actions, he was very, very pro-Israel. Mossad loved people like him because he's very milquetoast. He is a very milquetoast conservative. And the difference between the George Floyd riots, with George Floyd, and what's going on with Charlie Kirk, is that the left actually stood by their cause and actually escalated certain things and actually did massive protests. But most of it was fairly non-violent. There was some of those violence, but most of the time, you had that conservatives point out very, very specific points of when it would get violent. There was times that happened, but most of it was just non-violence because it was so massive. It was massive. They called it a summer of love for a reason. It was just a massive protest. Yes, drinking soda as I talk because I always do this off kilter. With the Charlie Kirk incident, you're seeing people instead of my other drink was trying to go crazy. You see with Charlie Kirk, there's people trying to grift off of him. You see people using his likeness to make coins and dollar bills. You're seeing them trying to make merchandise. You see all of this. Because these people fundamentally didn't care about Charlie Kirk. Could you say people care about George Floyd? Maybe not. But they cared more about the idea of what happened to it. Now, within the black community, yes, they did care. They cared about him, even though you really shouldn't. Same thing with, in my opinion, Charlie Kirk as well. I know some people are like, oh, he was much better. He wasn't great. He was better than George Floyd, but he was not, in my opinion, a saint. He was basically a sociopath, and he supported sociopathic ideas. The things you see other people, and if you look at my screen right now, I'm showing Mr. Metokur with a meme of Charlie Kirk, with his neck being the water fountain. Haha, I get it. I thought it was funny. Many other people thought, and also the gusher meme, where it's oh, he was a gusher. Candy. What gets to me about Mr. Metokur is he's the one that really pisses me off about this kind of stuff. Is that he truly doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's just trying to grift after people and their emotions. Because this man's been saying he's been dying for close to 10 years. And you're starting to see a small minorities, which you can say I'm in the small minority too, that would question is why you keep saying you're dying and you keep coming back on the internet? I can understand that you need money. And it's funny because even he complained about how the tariffs have screwed over him and his wife because people can't handle the tariffs because the only thing it's doing is taxing. They have to be taxed. That's what a tariff is. It's a tax. And it's not stopping businesses from trying to go overseas. It's just making it harder for them to make money because it's punishing people. So what they do is they compensate by making the consumer pay more. That's just basic economics. You expect the companies to have good faith. No, they don't care. They don't care. Why do you think Nintendo, their physical products are going up the roof? Everything's going up. And inflation's getting bad. You hear in Metokur's live stream saying that, we are experiencing the Renaissance. The Renaissance, it's coming. What are you talking about? Literally, what are you talking about? We have extremely high inflation. Jobs are actually worse now than they have ever been. Wages are still stagnated. People, putting out hundreds, thousands of applications. They can't find a job. Companies are laying off people. Prices like fuel and all that's going up. Trump saying I'm the anti-war president. Yeah, he's trying to go to war with Venezuela, Ethiopia, Iran. All this. And another thing that gets to me, especially with Jim, saying that he's found God by Charlie Kirk, a guy he doesn't even know. You know, he was telling a story how his mom having like heart issues, and knowing that he was seeing his mom degrade mentally and physically in real time. And he doesn't see God then, but he sees God by some random sociopath who supported a genocidal ideology known as Zionism. And he says he's found God. Like, that's beyond just disgusting. That's disgusting. People don't want to hear that because, you know, people don't want to hear that when I say it's disgusting, because people want to think, oh, Jim found God. You know, people want to be good faith with him. Him trying to justify why we shouldn't talk about the Epstein files is infuriating to many people, including me. We all know that the Epstein files need to be released, and Trump and the conservatives overwhelmingly don't want it to be released. Now, of course, both sides will be hurt, but the Democrats are willing to have everything exposed because they have gotten new people within their group that's not associated with Epstein files. Most of these people on Epstein files are either old, or they're getting like Bill Clinton age, and they're just getting disease and dying. And they're willing to sacrifice those groups because they have new groups to replace them. The conservatives don't. The conservatives are quite split. You have the neocons that are the ones trying to block the Epstein files, and you have you could say the remnants of what we used to call the alt-right, or the alternative right, like Nick Fuentes and others like him, trying to say we want the Epstein files. To where even they saying, look, if you don't want to help us, we might as well vote for Gavin Newsom. I mean, that's kind of true. You might as well just vote for Gavin Newsom. He seems more logical than these people. Jim is trying to say, well, it's a Mossad. I think he said Mossad, AstroTurf, trying to ignore the real issues with our America and all that, trying to stop these communists. And it's like, you made videos talking about the Epstein files. You was pissed off. You was mad knowing that these people are getting away with it. Now you don't care? Now you don't want anything to happen? No, fuck off with that. We want the Epstein files, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows that all these people, including Trump, it's on the Epstein files. We don't know how bad it is, but by looking at the context and all, it sounds pretty bad. It could be like prepubescent girls, and including boys, because remember, Peter Thiel has now been implicated in the Epstein files, Elon Musk, others. All these people are connected. And the thing is, all these elites are afraid because they know, what if people don't give a shit at that point? When it comes to, be nice and all that, well, you literally have predators running your government. Not just like America, but other governments. All these high-end government figures or high-end rich people would know what will happen to them if people just don't care about, optics. They know this. And they are afraid. This is like the most afraid they've ever been. They say, well, wouldn't Democrats block it too? Well, the thing is, at least Democrats, they never promised the Epstein files. They never promised that. At least they were honest about it. With the conservatives, they were so hi-ho about trying to release the Epstein files. And now they're trying to say it's a lie. They're telling the victims that it's a lie. This is just infuriating. And anytime I hear any form of, like, what's going on with Charlie Kirk or something like that, it's like a tragedy. What the conservatives are trying to push, you must guarantee the reason why they're talking about it, so you won't talk about the Epstein files. That's as a fact. Anything you see, like including Charlie Kirk, they're trying to use it to try to distract you from the Epstein files. Like, even the person who did that to Charlie Kirk, they don't even know if he's left-wing, or he could be like a far-right furry. And yes, there are far-right furries. I know Jim likes to say they're all left-leaning. No, it's like a subgroup of furries where they're just extreme right-wing. And they're trying so desperately to try to say that, his roommate is lovers, because they literally want to find anything to prove that he was left-wing. But every single time, it's always either a centrist or a right-wing person. That's the sad reality. Everyone knows it. And the FBI is so incompetent. The only reason why he was even caught was because he was bragging to his own father. And his father ratted him out. There we go. They can't do proper investigations. They're incompetent. It makes sense because the dude who's like the director, the FBI director, Cass Patel, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a pathological liar. And every single person is asking for the Epstein files, and he's trying to bootlick for a person that could be on the Epstein files. This is the extent. And you see Metokur trying to say, we're seeing a revolution. I won't be able to see, but you will. What innovation are we going to get? Well, I haven't seen innovation. It seems like everything's stagnating and falling apart. But does Jim care? No. He wants to sell you on a cope. Like I always said, the left is honest about hating you as a man. They hate you for the values of what men used to have. But at least they're honest about it. I could say that. At least they're honest. The right plays you like a fiddle. They don't care. They want to use you. They want to manipulate you. They want to do everything in their power to try to grift off you and the ideas that you believe in. And once they have the power, they will use the same power that the left have to control you, to also control you as well for being a right-wing person. They want to turn our country into an oligarch. They want to turn us into Russia. They want us to, once it's far right, or what we would call this kind of neo-conservative hellhole, they want you to either stay in that same political position or be extremely apathetic, where you just don't give a shit about politics. Like in Russia, most people just go with the flow, and they don't talk about politics at all. They just vote that what Putin wants to vote for. They don't talk about politics, and you know what? They go to war with Ukraine because they know it'll get them money. Look at them. They live like shit. Outside like Moscow and St. Petersburg, they live like shit, and that's what the new age conservatives want you to live. Just like with their left wing, they want you to live in the pod. They want you to eat the bugs. They want you to be happy. In that way, they want you to have a lower standard of living. They want you to be a modern day serf, and even a serf where even back then at least you had family, you had loved ones. No, they want you to be isolated. The two sides of the same coin, but they want to do it in different ways. And you see people like Metokur trying to sell you on the con, trying to say, "Oh, I'm sick, I can't do this," and even at the end, instead of reading super chats like he always does, he handpicks super chats. Because I guarantee a whole bunch of people, including people like me, called out his bullshit grifting con. People called him out, and he tried to avoid it. He tried to avoid all this kind of stuff that people are trying to point out towards him. Where's the Epstein files? Why are you defending Trump? Why are you such a MAGA show? Why are you trying to say that the border's being, immigration is being stopped, even though that's complete and outright bullshit? We know that's the case. It's just a few instances where they go after like old people, which is a very bad look, by the way. It's going to make it where people are more pro-immigration, pro-illegal immigration, just making you look bad. Yeah, tackle a young woman, tackle an old man and expose a weapon, trying to threaten people who get near him. Not showing your face, not saying that you're police officers. People in ICE are getting sued for mishandling and using excessive force. People who are actually come to this country legally, they have the documentation, can't even show it before they get tackled and assaulted. It's a bad look. You're not actually trying to go after criminals. This is just pathetic. And you even see people lying. Like, there was this one thing where it was like some kid, quote unquote, got kidnapped, and they found out that he just ran away. But, all MAGA was trying to use it as, immigration, look at this immigration, knowing that it was complete false. Even after they proved that it was wrong, he still went with that. Same thing with the Charlie Kirk pew-pew guy. Trying to say he's left-leaning, even though he could just be a crazy right-wing with furry ideas. It's pathetic. And Jim, I say, is like the worst person because he's trying to, grift off this, saying, I care about Charlie Kirk. I found faith. I found God. I guarantee if you change his voice to someone else and, took this quote he made and put it back in the time machine about 15 years ago, old Jim would laugh at this motherfucker. He would laugh at this motherfucker and call him a fucking joke sellout. A fucking joke. Your mom passed away and you don't want to find God then, but some random sociopath who, by the way, the reason why Charlie Kirk won a lot of debates is because he went to colleges, which are young kids and early adults who don't know any better, who get too emotional and they say stupid stuff and they don't plan stuff out ahead. But whenever Charlie actually deals with someone that can outmaneuver him and point out the actual questions, he will openly try to get security on him and kick him out. Kick he or she out, usually just a man. Because you know why? Because he's someone that tried to do straw mans. He tried to find any way to get cheap bros. He literally went like bottom of the barrel, the easiest you can get, like the bottom branch. That's what he did. And that's how he always won. He's not a good debater. When you actually, if you have some form of knowing how to debate people, you can debate him and you can win. This dude was a neocon shill for Israel who supported like pro-Zionist. He was pro-Russian, by the way. He thought Ukraine shouldn't exist and we should give Ukraine to Russia. Like, the dude was a scumbag. He was just a complete scumbag. I feel bad for his kids, his wife, but I don't feel bad for him because I don't know him. I hate knowing that his family has to see him, get that way, but I don't care about him as a person. Fuck him. Fuck Charlie Kirk. I don't give a shit. You can get mad at me in the comments. I don't censor people. I don't ban people. Fuck him. And fuck Mr. Metokur for trying to defend this kind of person because you never cared. You don't care. You're grifting off a man's dead body and you didn't find God. You didn't find no one. You're just trying to grift off of this. Just like these people who use his likeness to sell coins and dollar bills. You don't care. Stop pretending. Stop doing this. It's a fucking grift. You know it. Stop.